Hello, this is Aoife Dean and this is the Happy Weight podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and for being here. I sometimes get emails from people saying that they really enjoy the podcast, and that's so lovely because I always assume it's just people I know listening to it, or current clients or former clients, but whoever you are, thanks for listening. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you here, and it's not just me talking to myself. So today we're going to talk about motivation, and basically it really helps when we start seeing everything with brand new eyes than we have always seen things. So if we want brand new results, brand new behaviors with food, a brand new relationship with food and eating and our body, we have to be willing to see things in a brand new way. Because obviously, if you're listening to this podcast at all, maybe something's not working. And maybe the way you've been looking at things or going about things so far to date doesn't feel right, doesn't really feel like you're there yet, feels like there's more room for improvement. So I think a really good start, the ultimate shift in thinking, is motivation is what is naturally there when we're not demotivating ourselves. And lightness is what's automatically there when we're not doing things that make us feel heavy. And what's so trippy about weight issues is, I suppose you could see it from a kind of scientific, medical, calorie side of things. And you could say weight problems are just calories in, calories out, which, you'd have to, hopefully you'd never meet a health professional who would say that, because it's a very ignorant, uneducated statement to say. But the trippy side of it, I'm saying, is that it's always it's always matched with kind of our energy and attitude as well. Like when I have people that are in a kind of deep state of heaviness, they're really heavy with how they're looking at themselves, how they're looking at their eating, how they're looking at life. It's just like a boulder attached to them. Then they make heavy choices that make their body feel heavy. So it's not just calories, it's kind of our attitude, or our attitude causes the calories, or whatever way you want to see it. And then equally, when I do my job well, or I can help the right person or whatever, I often hear people say at some point of the game saying, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Like mentally, I'm freer. I had 2 calls in a row yesterday morning where people are like, I just feel freer. And that's amazing. That's how you really know you're on the right road. Because if you're light in spirit, light in mind, you're going to be more up for making light choices. And so that all ropes in with motivation and ways to feel more motivated, because in order to feel unmotivated, there'd have to be something we're saying to ourselves. And usually with this whole territory, rumination, like chronic repeated thinking, is kind of usually part and parcel of it. Like we'll have a few things that we always say to ourselves, or during our bad day, we'll have a soundtrack of a bad thought to that day. We'll be like, who am I kidding? I haven't changed at all. This has all been for nothing. I'm never going to change. And that kind of, if that's the soundtrack of your day, they're the thoughts that are going around and around in your head. You're not going to be eating like someone who's moving forward and taking care of themselves. So like that demotivation starts with the stories that we tell ourselves. And another part of that is people are always waiting for permission to start telling themselves different stories. It's kind of like, once I get a few good days behind me, or I suppose the classic one is, say like I had a client now this morning, and she had, we've been working together maybe 7 or 8 weeks. And yesterday she had the worst day of eating she's had since before starting the program. So, this would have been a day that was quite common for her before starting the program. But since starting the program, that's been like the worst day in all 7 weeks. And I was like to her, you get to make a win out of this whenever you want. Like, you always get to be a new you. You always get to react in the opposite way that you usually react. in order to create opposite results. So I was like, you get to take the light road here, because there's the light road and there's the heavy road. You can say that this is significant. This is the beginning of the end. This proves to me that I'll never change. This proves to me that I haven't changed. This proves to me that nothing works. We can take that heavy road, and we've been down there. Like, maybe all of those statements are familiar to you. Maybe they're things that you've said to yourself on repeat. So we always get to say the same. That's no problem. No one can ever stop us from being or doing whatever we want to be or do. But if we want to go a new road now, if we want to go get new results, well, then we get to take the light road, because if we take the heavy road, like, that's a heavy, heavy feeling. It's going to lead to, and I suppose you could use heaviness and unmotivated interchangeably. Like, when we're like under that boulder of, oh my God, I'm so not where I'm meant to be. I've really messed up. What I ate yesterday was so wrong. Like, that whole viewpoint is demotivating. Like, so demotivating, so blocking. Like, there are a million opportunities in front of you today. There are a million choices, and loads of them could be comfortable. Loads of them might be not even diety ones that would need willpower, but ones that are nice to you, that seem nice to you, but also would make you feel well. Like, I used to kind of think of it as like, what are the low-hanging fruits? What are like the easy things that I could do today that wouldn't require willpower or forcing or pushing myself, but would allow me to feel better? And like, we always have a day of thousands and thousands and thousands of choices and decisions and thoughts we could possibly think ahead of us. But when we're telling that story of yesterday was wrong, what I did was wrong, we're not going to see or take any of those opportunities. So with that client, I was like, you get to be totally new here, right? So if the old you would have been, saying all those dead end things like, it's the end of the road, who was I kidding, I'll never change, and being disappointed in yourself and all of that, well, then the new you would be proud of yourself. The new you would be shake that off in record time. And like I said, people are always waiting for some shift to happen so that they can give themselves permission to feel better or talk to themselves better or say well done or to be encouraging. And it's the other way around. You have to draw a line in the sand in how you've been talking to yourself and the thoughts that you've put up with in your head. And you need to someday draw a line in the sand there and be like, now I wish to create different results. And in order to create different results, I need different behaviors and different choices. In order to have different choices, I need to feel different. In order to feel different, I need to think different. And the start of thinking different is not feeling like you're behind. Like, I suppose that's another kind of chronic common thought is, I am not meant to be where I should be. Because of my weight today, because of my size today, I am not where I'm meant to be. Or because of what I ate yesterday, I am not where I'm meant to be. And it's like, you are where you're meant to be. If you weren't meant to be where you are, you wouldn't be there. So where we are is absolutely perfect for today. And like, there's such a difference between the body and the mind, because our body is constantly evolving. It's never, ever, ever static. It's always changing. It's always moving forward. It's always replacing, repairing cells. We're always becoming a new us. In 7 years' time, it will be a brand new us. Most of the cells that are here listening to this podcast today won't be there. Like, your body is building something new, and you get a say in what it's building. So it is marching forward. You are always changing. You are always evolving. And everything in the body is temporary, including fat. And then if you think about how our mind goes on about it, our mind goes on about like, well, this is innately you. You were always meant to have a problem with food. You were always meant to be overweight. It's your destiny. It's in you. It's just part of who you are. It's your personality. Like, everything's so final. And it's like, that literally does not apply to the human body. Like, everyone, every day is miraculously getting out of some disease or being cured from some disease, or then unfortunately every day someone's slipping into a disease. Like, there's so many parts of our body that are always changing every day. The conditions of our body are always changing every day. Nothing is static. So therefore, there's no game over situation. There's nothing you could possibly eat or do or not do where you get to tell yourself, oh, I missed my shot. You never missed your shot. You have never missed your shot for improving your health or improving the way you want to eat. And while our mind is there bullying us saying, oh, you missed your shot, you know, you have to feel bad today because of what you ate last night. It's like, wait a second. Like, for what you ate last night, like, can you pick out the parts of it you enjoyed? Because, like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe some of it was nice. Maybe some of it made you feel better. Maybe some of it tasted nice. Maybe some of it you got away with in your belly, like your belly didn't feel overfull or uncomfortable. And then maybe there was parts of it that were a waste, or there was parts of it that were, like, a little disappointing. Like, you were hoping it was going to taste good. You were hoping it was going to put you in a better mood, and it kind of didn't. So, like, there's stuff to learn from there. So, you know, that's helping us move forward too. And like I say, we always get to think of it now in a positive way. Like, I always imagine, you know, the bully is almost like this external thing, but somehow living in my head. And, you know, the bully wants you to give up on yourself. The bully wants you to say, like, who am I kidding? I deserve to feel crap. I deserve to eat crap. I deserve to be a weight I don't want to be or doesn't feel natural to me. The bully is always gunning for that. So the biggest retaliation you could ever have is saying things like, I am exactly where I should be. And I am delighted I ate what I ate yesterday because it taught me so much about myself. It taught me that actually those scones from Centra aren't as nice as I thought. It taught me that actually I thought I could eat a whole XL pizza by myself. Turns out after halfway point I start feeling a bit sick. Whatever it might be, like, you get to learn, you get to take some data away, and no one is forcing you to eat the same food again today if yesterday it was disappointing. Like, if yesterday it didn't taste nice, you didn't feel nice after it, that's grand. No one is making you eat that again for breakfast or lunch or dinner. But equally, the body never said it never wants to eat that food ever again. Like, when I'm working with clients, so many of them realize, oh, that food was never bad. It was just how I was eating it. Like, you know, if we're having a food as the 9th food in the middle of a binge, or we're having a food when we're already full to the brim, well, yeah, then it's maybe not going to taste great, or we're not going to feel great after it. But that's not the food per se being bad. Do you know what I mean? There could be another time we have that food and it tastes great and our belly feels perfect after it and there was nothing disordered about it. So yeah, we always get to pick the good out of the situation. Another thing that I think helps just clean up our thinking is the best friend test. Okay, so I was chatting to a client about this yesterday, and just because weight problems are very internal, they're very much, we have a broken way of thinking and we don't know how broken it is because maybe we only discuss it in, you know, in diet groups that are also broken or whatever, or maybe we don't vocalize it at all. Maybe all of this is just living in our head and loads of people in your life wouldn't even assume you're as upset about eating or weight as you are. So we say some very, very wonky things to ourselves. And the main thing is, would you say that to a best friend? So I was joking with a client yesterday about, like, do you know, how weird would you be if you were like, by the way, if your tummy was just in by 10 centimetres, like if there was 10 centimetres less of your tummy measurement, I think you'd be amazing. I think you'd be a great person. I think your life would begin. I think you could be really proud of yourself then. I think you could feel really confident, really attractive. You know, like, that would just be so weird because, you know, if you love someone or whatever, it's like, whether their belly is 5 centimetres in or out, or 10 centimetres in or out, or 20 centimetres in or out, like, who cares? Like, that doesn't define you. And like confident people are confident people, attractive people are attractive people. And there isn't always a correlation with weight. It's always, always, always an attitude. So we have to stop hiding behind a weight problem, because I think there's a lot of hiding behind a weight problem. There's a lot of like, oh, of course I have to talk to myself like this. I've just put on weight. Or of course I have to talk to myself like this. Sure, I've never been this weight before. I've never been this heavy. So I have to talk to myself in a disrespectful way. And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to talk to yourself in a derogatory, disrespectful way, that's grand. Are you okay for the consequences of overeating then? Are you okay with the consequences of mistreating your body? Because we don't treat a body we don't like well, you know. If we talk about our body in a negative way, we probably treat it in a negative way as well. So if the thing you say to yourself, if you can imagine saying it to your best friend and it being a bit crazy, that's kind of your proof that like, okay, this is the part that needs a little bit of work. Because say like, even if I had a lot last night and my best friend said to me or something like, by the way, don't you know that means you'll never lose weight? Don't you know that means you've messed up now, you've missed your shot? It's like, what? Like, who's setting the timer? Like, what's game over? Like, what finish line did I pass or test did I fail that I don't know about? Like, we say all these final damning things to ourselves about our weight and eating, that it's a game over situation or it was one fuck up too many or whatever it might be. And it's like, if you said that to a friend, you'd actually be crazy. Like, it makes no sense. So that's the first filter. I think filter your thoughts through, would you say it to a best friend? And maybe even if the best friend was going through a similar situation, what would actually be a more encouraging statement? So say if I did really overeat last night and I felt sick as a dog this morning, and I'm a bit sad I'm not progressing with my, reducing my overeating as much as I want, what would you say to me? Like, what do you think would be a helpful thing to say to me? What do you think would be encouraging and kind and compassionate? And then whatever you think would be a kinder and compassionate thing to say to someone else going through a similar situation, you have to do the right thing and start saying it to yourself. And then the next one is, the Byron Katie thing of the 4 questions. So the first question you ask yourself is it true? So when you say to yourself, like, I have a few negative thoughts listed here now. I never lose weight. Nothing works for me. I always finish what's on my plate. It's easier for everyone else to lose weight. No matter what I eat, I put on weight. I'm always good at the start and then I go back to square one. I just look at a cake and put on weight. I eat less than everyone else and I'm still overweight. I never eat bad stuff. So things like that, we have to put through the Byron Katie kind of test of say, or I can't lose weight. Maybe that's a good one. I can't lose weight. So you just ask yourself, is that true? So you're saying biologically, it's not possible for you to be lighter. So if you were put on a desert island with no food for a month, your body would still somehow manage to hold on to all the weight that you have today. Because I just kind of think no matter how loud or crazy is, another part of our brain, or at least for me anyway, I was like, okay, no, I know if I was put on a desert island with no food, I would actually lose weight. So it's not that there's some biological difference between me and all other humans, or it's not as if the laws of energy don't apply to me, like energy can't be created or destroyed, it just changes form. I know I am in a normal human body, and I know if I had a month without food, I would be a lighter weight than my average month without food now. And I'm not saying that because we want to go a month without food, but, if we're kind of saying no food would mean lots of weight loss, well then it's obvious that a bit less food would mean a bit of a lighter weight. And that's all we want. We just want a bit of a lighter weight. So maybe there's room for a bit less food somewhere. Maybe there's something we ate in the last week or the last month that, do you know what, it actually didn't taste that nice. Or, do you know what, it was a result of a very, very low ebb, stressful situation. And actually the learning was I need to stop putting myself into those super stressful, low ebb situations. So yeah, the first question is it true? The second one is, can you absolutely know it's true? So say, I can't lose weight. Is that true? You've never been even a pound lighter than you are today. Can you absolutely know that it's true? That no matter what you do, high up or low down, that like if you exercised way more or you had a way healthier diet, there's no way you'd be lighter. Do you really think that's true? And then when you tell yourself, I can't lose weight, how does that make you feel? How do you react when you believe that thought? Like when you really believe the thought, I'm stuck, I'll never change, I haven't changed, I can't lose weight. How does that make you feel? And how do you react? Like that's a very important one, because if we keep creating the same thoughts that keep creating the same reactions, it's going to be really hard to lose weight. So if we keep saying things like, I can't lose weight, and then it makes us feel like a fat, useless slob and that we're an awful failure and a disappointment of a human. And then while we're feeling like that, we might as well just eat whatever the hell is around because it doesn't matter anyways. Well, we can't keep having that thought if we keep having that reaction. And that reaction is always a high calorie reaction. And then the fourth question is, who would you be without the thought? So if you never ever had the thought of, I can't lose weight, if that thought had never entered your mind, what would your life have been like? And then bonus fifth question, who would you be if you thought the opposite? So if you were like, I can lose weight, or it's easy for me to lose weight. If all day, every day you were telling yourself, I can lose weight, it's easy for me to lose weight. Like, can you see how that might create a bit of lightness? Can you see how that might create a little bit of a more open-minded approach to opportunities? You know? So like one of my mantras was, you know, I can get healthier, lighter, whatever the start of the mantra was, in my own cool way, in my own cool time. So part of a weight problem is all punishment, making yourself eat stuff that you don't want to eat, making yourself eat more shite on a cheat day, and making yourself go for a walk when you don't want to go for a walk. So whether I realised it or not, like I was done with punishment. I was like, whatever I do from here on in, I will be doing with kindness. I will not be doing it from a punishment point of view. So I will be going for a walk. If the kind decision is to give my body a walk, I will be going for a walk. I will not be going for a walk if going for a walk is coming from a place of punishment. And same with food. I will be eating chocolate if it's a loving act, if it's about me genuinely taking care of myself, my emotions, and making myself feel better. I will not be eating chocolate if it's a self-sabotage, screw you, you're never changing anyway, no one likes you, you're a failure, you're a disappointment, blah, blah, blah. I will not be eating chocolate. So those 4 questions, again, you can look it up, the 4 questions by Byron Katie. Not everyone loves her, by the way. Some people call her a victim blamer. But I think her approach is just basically she had like very, very bad depression. She was always in and out of facilities. And so she just had to take the reins on her own mind. And, you know, she just had to get to the bottom of some of her thinking that was just making her feel chronically bad all the time. So is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you react when you believe that thought? And who would you be without that thought? And then sometimes the 5th question is in there. What would you be like if you always thought the opposite of that thought? So I think that's really nice. So I hope today gave you some guidance. I suppose my biggest one out of today's episode is it's always the right time to take the light road. It's always the right time to view things with a more positive, compassionate, lighter, normal eater approach. because that's probably the third filter you could put it through, actually. Like, if you can imagine anyone who, and sometimes people don't know anyone like this, which is sad, but if you know anyone who genuinely doesn't seem to have any issues with food or weight that much, they don't obsess about nutrition, they don't obsess about calories, but like, they actually seem to just enjoy exercise, or they enjoy their chips, or they enjoy their soup, or whatever they're up to. They're, it doesn't seem very stressful and arduous or whatever. How would they react? So if they overate last night, how would they react? Would they say that they're a failure of a person? Because they wouldn't. And sometimes I get clients who've been referred by a friend. And like, it's happened now, even recently with two people, that the friend who originally did the program was in a very different emotional place than the friend that they referred. So I'd be in the back of my mind being like, if my new client is, struggling and we've more to work on and we've more to iron out, like, it's no problem. We're like, we all have a right to improve. We can all move forward. There's no, case closed situation that you're screwed or anything. But just some of us have more stuff to work on than others. But sometimes I'd be just a bit afraid that, my new client is comparing herself to the client that referred her, because it was all way easier for the client that referred her. And if you ever see someone who makes exercise look easy, who makes healthy eating look easy, I'm telling you, I know this, I've worked in this for 17 years, the reason is they don't give out to themselves. So whether they go for a walk or they don't go for a walk, they won't be giving out to themselves. If they don't go for a walk, and if they don't go for a walk for a week, it'll be more like, damn it, I love my walks, I love it. I love the feeling after a walk. I love the feeling after a week of lots of walking. I love the fresh air. I love feeling strong. I love feeling toned. Damn it, I totally missed out. Like, so it's more of a FOMO, they missed out, but they're never the bad guy. They won't be like, I am a failure of a human because I didn't walk enough last week. I might as well not walk this week. They don't really see things like that. And when we're struggling with motivation, it's because we're doing way too much giving out to ourselves. So, like, I don't know, that's a big topic probably. Self-esteem is a big topic. And I'm not a psychologist. And, to be honest, being brutally honest, I don't sometimes think it matters where it came from or what trauma response or whatever. I kind of don't, because it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility, and we can change it. And sometimes, it's more painful to stay the same than it is to change. And if you've not got the results that you've wanted with eating and weight for a long, long time now, and you're sick of it, and you potentially don't want to be in the same place in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years' time, well, then the process of changing how you're thinking and the process of telling yourself, do you know what? That's not nice. I'm not going to talk to myself like that. I'm not going to give out to myself. The week has been hard enough. There's no place here for giving out to myself, making myself feel heavy, demotivating myself. That's not the journey I'm on anymore. So I think that process, when our goal is big enough or important enough, or we're overdue it enough, like, we will make that change. So, yeah. Sending you lots and lots of strength and self-belief. I hope this podcast episode makes for a lighter few days coming up and put some new approaches into your head or new tools in your tool belt. And wishing you well for the week to come. Talk to you soon. Bye.